I mean, it was quite an insightful session, the one that just happened now, and how companies are moving into the new normal of post-pandemic world. And I must really appreciate what Mr. Krishna Swarup mentioned about cash conserving, because that is what I would be talking about mostly now. Without much further ado, I will talk about what I am here to go about. 1 minute, which is so primarily we see that most Indian corporates are conservative when it comes to their purchases on vehicles, right? And we still follow a traditional way of owning the asset on the company books, right? Clearly by virtue of the capital expenditure that the company does, right? We see that the companies that own their asset, hold their asset on their books for quite a long time, and employees also may or may not have their own modes of transport, right? Indians love their cars and take care of it like their family. So companies are mostly in way of funding for their cars through either an outright purchase or through a bank loan, right? This means that they invest their monies on the depreciating asset, because the car is not earning them any money. Like one of the earlier speakers mentioned, the conserving of cash becomes an important part, because most of the companies realized it in their pandemic world when there was inflow shortage and companies had blocked their credit lines by investing on depreciating asset, right? And 2021 was a great year for us, because that is when corporates started realizing that investing on depreciating assets through their own capex was not a great way to do. So what we do is basically fund and manage cars on behalf of corporates, right? It's a long-term lease for 3, 4, and 5 years. All the maintenance, insurance, tires, batteries, everything is taken care of. And this is an off-balance sheet item for the corporates. The lease rental that is paid is completely expensed out. The credit limits is not blocked. And the services that we provide is pan-India. In fact, globally, we are a very large company with close to 2 million cars. Europe, we are the #1 player. In India, we've been almost 15 years with close to 18,000 cars. So mostly companies that do not want to invest on a depreciating asset would love to have us on board to fund for their cars, right? And the car is a brand new car that is given to all the companies. And the lease rentals that can be recovered from the employee will mean that there is no cost to the company as such, and the lease rentals that have been recovered from the employee gives them the tax benefits, right? And this means that the employee gets the tax benefit. There is zero cost to the company. The employee gets a tangible asset to use for 3, 4, and 5 years. There is complete safety because the services are taken care by us. Efficiency of business operations. So I'll give you a few examples, right? Many companies have sales force working across India, right, across the Indian continent, and the sales force team that is out on the field require as much mobility as possible without having to spend their time on maintenance of such vehicles. So companies usually mobility becomes an essential part of their job profile, like a tab or a computer or a mobile phone. Now cars are also an essential part of their job profile. So companies tend to give them cars wherein either to go on sales calls or service calls, it comes to a great advantage. And because the services are taken care of, there's nothing much that the employee has to do to ensure that he's on the field most of the time. Companies use car lease to motivate certain cadre of employees to ensure that they are retained well enough within the system, because nowadays attrition is going sky high. Like our previous panelists mentioned, the companies are trying extremely hard to go about and retain talent, right? Car lease can become one of the major factors in retaining and motivating of employees. And the best part is there is no legal liability on the company. The legal liability is only about paying lease rentals on time every time, right? Because the cars can be registered in the name of employer and employee, there is absolutely no legal risk on the employer, and there is no cost outflow because that number of lease rentals can be recovered from the employee, right? There are a few sample pricings which I can discuss about, as low as 16,000 per month. It could go up to multiple thousands depending on the cars that the employees choose. Basically, the point that I am trying to make here is to tell companies that instead of investing monies on depreciating asset, you're better off in choosing to lease the asset for a maximum of 5 years from the date of its registration. So this means that there is no way there is capex outflow from the company. It is an opex, which is tax benefit to the company, because obviously it's shown as expense. And even if you're following, if companies that are there that follow IFRS standards in today's world for global financial returns, even under IFRS, operating lease is more valuable than finance lease. So there are companies which really do not want to have assets on their books, and for such used cases, we would love to partner with such companies. And in terms of cost benefit analysis, there's a small example where a company usually saves almost 28%. The average cost saving for an employee or an employer is between 25 and 28%. This is a sample cost benefit for a company. And if such car is taken on a lease and such amounts are exempted from employees, are taken out from employees' salary, then their cash in hand increases. Because in today's world, the maximum cash tax benefit that an employee can get is by virtue of a housing loan interest of 2 lakh rupees and nothing more, right? Essentially, all the amounts above 10-15 lakh rupees are 30.9% taxed. So car lease becomes one of the most efficient ways of saving taxes, and thereby, as against a bank loan, the employee gets in the car at a lower cost, right? This means that the total cost of ownership over 5 years, lease versus a bank loan, the employee stands to benefit. In this classic example, there is more money in hand with the employee than if he opts for a car loan. And in terms of what we have been doing, I personally am in this space for more than a decade. I have seen how India's transitioned from a traditional cash purchase economy to a leasing economy. Back in 2011, when I got into this industry, hardly 0.5 out of 10 people knew what lease is all about. Today, it is scaled to a greater extent. More than 2 people know what lease is all about. And thereby the fleet size in Indian automotive market has gone beyond 40,000 live cars, out of which we currently operate with 18,000 cars, which as on date, right? We cater to large strata of corporates, right from manufacturing to IT to pharma to diverse industries, including but not limited to environmental companies, right? Seeds companies, right? A couple of seeds companies which work extremely remote places in India opt for car lease because mobility becomes one of the key factors. And moreover, after the COVID pandemic, people prefer those cars, those smaller cars. So because the public transport system, it's really not safe at this point in time. So in terms of the bandwidth, we have physical offices in Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, and there is a strong workforce to ensure that you are available to rather we are available to our clients 24/7, right? And I'm based in Bangalore, and I take care of pan India operations for my set of clients. And in terms of the leasing aspect, our focus is primarily on car lease, and there are ways where we can work towards equipment lease also, like laptops or fixtures, anything apart from real estate, right? And basically the whole point is about companies opting for cars. The biggest question is, do you want to go in for a capex or an opex, right? CFOs would know best, because capex would really curtail their the credit availability, and the investing of money from either their equity or through borrowed capital would go into a depreciating asset, which is a further going down on their returns, right? This means, instead you can use it as an opex, where companies can make good of their equity and grow their business they deem fit, right? And with this, I kind of come to end of my presentation. If there's any questions from anybody, I'd love to hear from them. I think we have a bit of time for that. Anisha, would anybody, or would you have some questions?
Vishwanath, we haven't received any questions from the audience. Okay. I just had one question. When it comes to insurance cost, who bears the insurance cost in this model?
So the complete insurance is taken care by us, because the asset essentially belongs on our balance sheets. So we cover the insurance cost, and it is budgeted within the lease rentals. So essentially, the insurance, to answer your question in online, we take care of insurance.
Right. In case if all of you listening in have any questions about this model, do visit the booth of LeaseMyCars or reach out to Vishwanath. Okay, we've got one question which has come from Virender Bansal. He's asked, the benefit of a car lease is taken away by car lease charges. So technically benefits arise to the leasing company. Yes, the benefit is of administrative charges. How do you see this comment? Do you think the benefit is only of administrative charges, or?
See, essentially, I'll be very candid in saying, right? Car lease companies are profit-making entities, right? So we are private limited companies, we are for profit. So the complete benefit that a corporate is getting is through the tax benefits that the government is willing to offer, because it is a expense out. Now, in terms of commercials, we certainly can work around to make this number look more lucrative. Right? But when I, as a company today, let's say if I mine is a capex heavy business, right? I have to fund for X number of cars the day the order comes in, and for the contract to be serviced over 3, 4, 5 years. So thereby it is imperative that I remain profitable enough to survive this market and to cater to my clients. So yes, there are fleet management charges that we take in, but in terms of commercials, we will definitely, work towards making it more lucrative. And the benefit, the maximum amount of benefit that is given is by the government by virtue of their tax policies.
Right, that's an important benefit, no doubt.
Yes.
I'm just checking if there are any more questions. Vishwanath, no more comments or questions have come in. I'm sure people will get in touch with you directly to try and understand, how could they best maximize the value proposition that you have for the companies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Anisha. Thank you so much for the time. Thank you.